We thought that socialism meant that the ideals of democracy would be extended to all areas of human life. And even today, when someone asks me, do you still regard yourself as a socialist? I said, well, if you permit me to define socialism, then I would define it in Deweyan terms, as a belief in democracy as a way of life. But let me point out that in the early years, when I'm talking now pre-World War I, when we spoke of socialism, we conceived it as the collective ownership and democratic control of the means of production. Now, we were very ignorant about economics. We assumed that the ideals of democracy could readily be applied to other areas and where problems of production were not very realistic to us. But you see, and I'm sure it's not only true about the United States, but in Western Europe, many people who were part of the liberal tradition thought of socialism as a fulfillment of that, as an extension of the liberal tradition. And the great disillusion occurred when it turned out that what we thought would be a new birth of human liberty was transformed into a totalitarian despotism. I characterize myself as a social democrat today, with emphasis upon the democratic aspects. Now, when Roosevelt called himself a Democrat with a small d, at that time, he also included the Southern Democrats. Now, at that time, when Roosevelt called himself a Democrat, I was supporting Norman Thomas. And Norman Thomas, in his development, gradually came to the conclusion that the economic problem of a program of the New Deal was a program which was part of the socialist program. You must remember that when I was young, there was no such thing as Social Security or unemployment insurance. That the welfare state as it exists today to us would have been a fulfillment of socialism. Now, when I was young and liberal and socialist, I believed that everybody ought to be rewarded on the basis of his individual achievement and merit, regardless of his race, religion, sex, or national origin.
And you still do, I'll bet.
And I still do, and this is what affirmative action in its original sense meant. But today, people say, oh no, that's not enough. Well, you must believe not merely, you must oppose not merely discrimination, you must be in favor of reverse discrimination. You must judge people on the basis of their membership in groups. And I say, oh no, we always oppose that. Liberals have opposed that. Roy Wilkins, who was secretary of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, seized on a phrase that Justice Harlan, in a dissenting decision in Plessy versus Ferguson, said. He says, justice should be colorblind. Now, that's the liberal position. To my astonishment, that today, the current chairman of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People has said to believe that justice should be colorblind is stupidity. You have to be attentive to color and make up for it regardless of individual achievement and merit. So I would maintain that I still hold to the liberal position. My political activities took place outside as a student and as a teacher outside the campus. But even when we were young radicals, we very strongly believed in reason. We thought the university is a place where the winds of doctrine should blow freely. And now we find, to our astonishment, that today there is very little free speech on American campuses compared to the kind of free speech that existed in the past. That a very small minority of students, vetted by a passive faculty, will not permit speakers whose positions they disapprove of, even to present their point of view. Why, we would invite those with whom we disagree to present their point of view so that we can engage in a give and take of discussion with them. And to my astonishment, I find that students will prevent individuals from speaking of whom they disapprove. And this is a transformation which is sickening to me, because it means the politicalization of the American university.